All right, hello everybody. Welcome. We're here today with Adrian Perry, guitarist, multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, and he has a new project. El Cortina is the name of the band. We're going to talk about that. Adrian, congratulations on the release of your new album.
Thanks. Yeah, it's good to finally get it out there.
Yeah, so the band is called El Cortina, but is it actually a band or is it you?
It's kind of me, plus some friends. It's what I'm going to call my recording projects going forward. There's definitely people I plan to work with or try to work with, on ongoing. But definitely could switch it up. So it's sort of in between, but yeah, I guess you could call it like mainly like a solo recording project. But I think you'll see some repeat players along the way, and there's some folks that really were instrumental in, pun intended, in contributing to this record that I could see, contributing going forward. But I just kind of keeping it open. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it is right now.
And I should have said the album is called Top Down. Um, and
Right?
and so the first song on the album I think is Whiz Kids, right?
Yeah.
And it grabbed my attention right away. I mean, that's why we're doing this interview. I right away got in touch with your publicist, so I was listening. I'm like, it just pulled me in. It's very textural. Guitar. All of it is guitar driven. So we'll get to the song in a second, but that just brings up, do you consider yourself first and foremost a guitar player?
Honestly, I consider myself more of a bass player. That was my first real instrument, and the instrument probably where I've got the most chops or whatever. But I love playing guitar, and put a lot into that as well. But like if you're calling me up for a session, it's probably going to be on bass. But but I definitely have my own approach to guitar. I love playing it. Obviously, I play a lot of guitar on the record. I write mainly on guitar. I use a lot of different tunings and stuff. So, definitely into it. But I always kind of been more of a bass player.
Well, so yeah, let's talk about the first two songs, Whiz Kid, which I mentioned, and Can't Feel It.
Hmm.
Um, I find both of them really catchy, but in very different ways. Whiz Kid comes in with this really textural guitar stuff that it's almost, to me, ambient and sort of pulling you in and creating this sort of textural weave.
Yeah.
And Can't Feel It is much more sort of dirty rock, riff driven. Um, First of all, do you agree with my assessment? And second,
Yeah.
does that represent sort of the, I don't know, yin yang of your approach to music, guitar playing, songwriting?
Yeah. I think you're right on. I mean, WizKid definitely. It's like a vibe song. It's trying to create. I mean, this sounds like super pretentious, but almost kind of like a cinematic vibe. Like it's bringing you into a world. It's what it's trying to do. The lyrics are pretty minimal, so it's supposed to be kind of, yeah, like kind of bringing into a universe, both musically, lyrically, sonically, all that stuff. So I think you're right on there. And then yeah, I mean, Can't Feel It is just like almost like a power pop, you know, boogie rock kind of song, and that kind of represents sort of the two poles. I think you're kind of got it right there. You kind of got more vibey stuff, and then you've got more punchy stuff, and then a lot of stuff in between. So I think there's a lot of variety on this record, but ultimately, I think it's all kind of centered around some common themes, and not just in terms of the lyrics, but also the way the sound, is the way that it was mixed and recorded. I wanted it to sound warm. I wanted to have the feel of those early '70s records. Um, that was kind of the touchstone as far as kind of what I wanted it to feel like. Some of those singer songwriter rock and roll type people, like Warren Zevon is someone I listened to a lot and was kind of thinking about and making this album, or records by Jackson Brown or Linda Ronstadt, like this sort of like a mix of I don't even know what you call like Americana or alt
Yeah,
country pop with rock and kind of mixed up.
it's interesting to me because everyone that you just mentioned is very associated with Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Um, and I feel like this album has a really New York feel to
yeah.
me. I was trying to like think of a more intelligent way to say that other than a New York feel, but um, you know, it's not. It has a little bit of that sort of Max's Kansas City early punk-ish edge, although it doesn't sound like that. So that's why it's a little more complicated. That I have a hard time expressing that. But even like Living's Easy has a little bit of that swagger, like a New York Dollsy thing, but it's not as sloppy as that. It doesn't feel like it's supposed to be. Am I making any sense here? But
No,
there's something there. That stuff is an influence on you and
I
on your
love the
songwriting,
Dolls.
right?
I mean, look, Velvet Underground, Lou Reed, the Dolls, all that proto punks. I love all that stuff. So there's no, so in a lot of ways, it's sort of that stuff mashing into sort of a more that sort of California early '70s rock production. I think that's probably the way, because the way I've been describing the album, like trying to do it in a sentence, is like sort of Laurel Canyon vibe with an edge, right? So I think the edge is the New Yorkness, which I've been in New York for I don't know, over 2 decades, so I guess I've got that edge anyway, and I love all that music. All this. It's funny, Max is a great source of a lot of some of the great New York bands went through there. A lot of great bands have gone through there. So you're right on. Yeah, I can't say it enough. I mean, I've always been a huge Dolls fan. The VU stuff, all that kind of, also the early Stones. Some of that swagger, that stuff definitely is in there, and it's kind of combining with uh, maybe a little more of like I said, that kind of early '70s like singer songwriter rock vibe. So you're getting a little of that blend. So you're really honing in on it
Yeah,
for sure.
cool, good. Well, you were in a band for years with your brother Tony,
Hmm.
um, and your father, of course, is Joe Perry. So, to what extent did you grow up feeling like music was the family business? And like, did you and Tony always? Did you grow up playing together all the time? Did you think this was what you would end up doing? Like, did you ever? Ver-
So yeah, happy to dive into that one. I mean, so my in addition to my dad being obviously a big time musician, my grandfather was a jazz musician on my mom's side, and I had a lot of cousins, including in my grandfather's generation, that were musicians as well. So I had it on both sides. So growing up, music was just like, this is normal. Music is the thing. Um, I was very lucky to go. I went to concerts very young. I mean, not just my dad's, but I would go to my grandfather's jazz gigs, and I would. My mom was like, did coat check at the Channel, which was this club in Boston, and I remember as a little kid like going in with her to see like James Brown, or she'd bring me when there would be good shows, and I'd just be like a little kid like in the coat room with the coats on me, just kind of hanging out, as a little kid. So music, it was just part of life. Growing up, a little more complicated. My parents split when I was a little kid. I was uh, a few years old. I forget exactly, but I moved to LA when I was turning 7 with my mom, and then so I didn't. I raised this because I didn't really get to play a lot with Tony during the early years. I didn't start playing until I was 12, actually, and Tony didn't start probably till around that time in his life. I was 4 or 5 years older than him. So we didn't start playing together until maybe I was like later in high school, early college, and that's about when he started playing. So I would be visiting, and we would um, play together, and it started off just like we were just goofing around, having fun, and then at a certain point, it was like, well, what? Some of these things we were recording stuff. It's like it actually sounds pretty good. Like this could be a real song, not just some joke that we're recording like for fun. And so it kind of grew from there to for the Tab Band slash Dead Boots projects. But we had a great time playing together. But yeah, growing up like as little kids, like when we didn't really play. Neither of us was really playing. Like I said, up until I was about 12, 13. He got bit by the bug around the same age a few years later. Um, and then we started to really connect on that level. Listening to stuff together, sharing, just bands we liked, and then we would record when we were hanging out. Because he's also an excellent engineer, producer, which is what his main job is now. So we would record stuff, and so that project grew out of that. But growing up, I unfortunately just being separated, by blended family, all that sort of stuff, didn't get a chance to like for like the real early days, but we definitely made up for it.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of second generation, musicians whose usually fathers, but fathers or mothers were, rock royalty. Um, and I know it can be tricky to navigate because you don't want to be completely associated with your parent. I mean, nobody does in any field really. Um, and yet it's, I'm sure was a big influence and a part of why you do what you do. Um, has that been tricky to navigate? Is it something you like to discuss or prefer not to? Or
I don't mind discussing it. I mean, I've always taken the attitude, I don't run away from it. I don't run towards it. It's just there. I'm really lucky to have my dad in my life. I think he's an amazing musician, and I have learned a bunch from him. Just from his example. I'm also a big fan of his band. We talk about bands that went through Max's. That's where Aerosmith got their big record deal moment.
well,
So
and
yeah,
I didn't know that. Although I actually, when I said that, I really didn't know that. Although
yeah.
certainly, the New York Dolls were a big influence on them. But I don't think your music really sounds like Aerosmith. Although I hear New York Dolls in both of them, so it's sort of interesting. But other than that, I don't think anybody would listen to this music and make that association.
No, and that's fine. I mean, it's again like I'm not trying to do one thing or the other. I've never been the like walk in the door and it's like, hey everyone, my dad's an Aerosmith. Like, isn't that cool? Like everyone high five me. Like I'm just the opposite of that. But I'm also not going to pretend like he isn't my dad or that like there aren't you know some major influences. I mean, I learned a lot about the business by growing up around him and my stepmom who like are in the thick of all things music business since I was a baby. You know what I mean? And my mom as well. On the other coast. So I learned a lot about the business from him, and then obviously picking up things here and there. Like he never sat down and gave me lessons, but like if I ever had a question or even on this record, I was like I'm trying to pick up some new slide techniques. Like where should I dig in? He's like, all right, you gotta listen to some more Johnny Winter. It's like, all right, you know what I mean? Like little moments there where it's kind of incredible to have that resource, and I don't take it for granted. I'm just like,
Right.
how do I make a guitar sound good? Let me call the guy that is one of the best to ever do it. You know what I mean? And but the thing I think they take the most from him is his work ethic. The guy, he still practices every day. He's still tinkering with his sound, builds his own speakers and amps and like tweaking things. Like he is a true like guitar slinger. Like the real deal. And to see the work he puts in, even though he doesn't need to anymore, he's made it. He's got all the accolades. That's really inspiring to our whole family from just a work perspective. You're going to find that if you ever meet any of my brothers, or we're all like relatively down to earth and like work hard. That's the standard.
Yeah. And it's just like with great athletes, people often don't realize the amount of work that people have put into develop their skills that you hear and feel and effortless or look or sound effortless. Um,
Yeah, it's
but
a lot of work. Yeah.
my good friend Andy Alador colleague at Guitar World for decades, and we have a band together, Friends of the Brothers, playing the music of the Allman Brothers, and we co-wrote
Cool.
a book on Stevie Ray Vaughan, and he and Joe are very close. Uh,
Yeah, I know. I probably met him over the years. I met. Yeah,
yeah,
that's really
and
cool.
yeah, I know that like when Joe had some health problems and couldn't play for a while before he went back on the road, he had Andy come up and just jam with him, just to help him get his chops back up.
Yeah.
And I think when they recorded the blues album, he wanted to freshen up his blues chops, and that's sort of Andy's specialty. So he brought him up to Boston and did that. So I mean, I think that's reflective of how seriously he's going to take it, and that's as it should be. If you're going to go record or perform, you want to be at your best, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like all, like you said, like top athletes, all of, for me, my thing was I wanted to be that, but for songwriting. And so, like, I am at a
Is it
certain point along the way, that became the focus more than like chops on a particular instrument and just writing and writing and writing. But you were about to say something. Go ahead.
well? No, I mean, at the same time, being a sort of one man band, so to speak, your chops have to be pretty good on a across a wide array. And in order to execute the songwriting ideas you have, I mean, if you were only focusing on songwriting, you could write the songs and bring in other people to play them. But since you're mostly doing it yourself, and I know there are other people on the record, but it's primarily you. Does that add an extra level of challenge? Like, how do you decide when you're going to play a guitar part or bring someone else in, or any other instrument?
So, one, you're right. I mean, and I don't want to like be, sell myself short. Like, I can get around good on a bass and a guitar, and I can play stuff, and I play a lot of stuff on the record. But, I think um, there were a few tunes where like I wanted, and again, like I'm like mentioning bands not because I think I'm anywhere close to them, but they're just inspirational. Like Steely Dan, right? Like that's the classic. Like it's a band, but it's really like it's the two guys. They write the stuff. They bring in the session people. They play a couple things, but that's it. Like there were a few songs where I really wanted like to level up the guitar playing, the guitar solo, and a different style than I would play. And that's where I got Jordan, who plays a couple of lead guitar parts on the record. They're phenomenal, and um, and so it was really just like wanting to have some different sounds, different voicings, in the playing, because it can get monotonous if I played lead guitar on every song. It'd be probably, it'd sound cool. I'd get it to where I want, but like I wanted to have some different textures, different flavors in there. Um, the stuff that I really kept for myself, if I was doing like lead stuff, is probably more of um, the slide work and stuff that was in different tunings, where I kind of had like almost like it's really like my own feel. The riffs are, in a way like it'd just be too difficult to teach someone the way to play it with the tuning that I used, because I used some somewhat unusual tunings on the record. So for those, I just kind of kept it and did it. But for tunes where it's like, all right, we're gonna cut loose on a solo, like "Living's Easy," at the end, the solo in that song, like, be great to have, like the session ace come in and just crush, you know, uh, almost a solo that kind of crosses a couple of genres. Like it's got a little bit of the jazz vibe, a little, blues and pop. So that's kind of the way I was thinking about it when doing, like, sort of deciding when to bring in folks. Obviously, like, well, maybe not obviously, but for those out there, I don't really play piano very well. So, like, obviously, all the piano and organ and all that, I was getting folks to come in for that, and drums as well. But for the guitar, that's kind of the way I looked at it. If it was more the quirky tuning stuff, I would just handle it. Stuff that was like, where I was looking for a little bit different feel, and that was a little more of a natural way to kind of integrate someone. Like Living's Easy is a good example, or Black Petunias. Um, I had some other folks jump in, and was really happy with the work that everyone did on this album. Honestly, I was grateful that anyone was willing to play on it. So.
Do you enjoy studio work more than performing live? And how much do you plan on taking this stuff out and playing it on stage?
So I love recording. I love the recording process, and then just like hearing the song at the end, and having it fully realized. But I also enjoy playing live. It's a completely different thing, um, and it's almost like a different song when you take it out live, and you have to emphasize different things. So I like that process. Live it's a lot more about just the gut. Just that feeling of getting the song across, the basics across, and connecting, as opposed to the recording where there's the bells and whistles and the ear candy. You know what I mean? So I enjoy both. Um, for this project, probably just be playing shows here and there. I have a day job that I'm very dedicated to, and I'm not looking to leave. So it's more about fitting it in around that, shows here and there. Um, but yeah, I mean, we've got a gig tomorrow night, at sort of our first show, up in Port Chester at the Garcias is the name of the venue in the Capitol Theater, so we're just kind of see what happens. First gig, with the full, 3 horns, guitar, 2 guitars, bass, drums, keyboard.
Yeah,
We'll
because
see what happens.
there's a lot of textures on the albums
Yeah, we
you
want
use. That's what I was going to
to
ask you, like
create. Yeah,
how, yeah,
we
it's
want to
not,
bring that, but
yeah,
it will
that's
be a little
exciting.
more, more guts to it. But yeah, so definitely we'll be playing some shows. But there's like we don't have like a big tour planned or anything like that. But for now, probably be sort of in the Northeast, and I'm sure we'll find our way out to California and do a show or two, next year at some point.
Yeah, the average fan really doesn't understand the complexities of touring, and I say that with all due respect, but I have a pretty popular band that mostly plays around Metro New York because it's just too hard and expensive to get out. We're a 7-piece band, and I appreciate it. People contact us and say, "Come to wherever, Chicago, St. Louis,
Yeah,
Cincinnati, etc." It's lovely, really wonderful that people would be ready to come, but the reality of what it takes to get out there, in terms of logistics and money, it's just not really understood by most people. So um, I just take the opportunity since you were talking about that to say that because I like to communicate that to people
oh yeah.
whenever I can.
No,
It's
you're absolutely right. It's people call it a rock and roll vacation a lot of the time. It's like you're basically paying to go play a bunch of shows, enjoy
right.
yourself. I mean, yeah. I mean, my last band, we did a lot of touring, and we were a DIY band. We paid for ourselves and recorded ourselves and did it that way, which is a lot of fun. But we learned a lot of lessons, which is good. But yeah, it's so expensive, to get around. So if someone wants you to come play, you know, cross country, it's like, well, you either got to help get us all out there, or like I have to reform a session band out there. You know what I mean? It's
Right. Yeah.
it's the economics of touring. I mean, it's not really getting easier, and it's a
No,
very
and
important
for
component.
many years, the industry, the recording industry sort of propped it up because they needed
Right.
to get their bands out. And so there's another thing that most people don't understand that I always try to explain. So one of the advantages to signing with labels was you got tour support.
That's right.
And the labels also supported the underwrote a lot of clubs in important markets, so that they could stay functioning 5, 6, 7 nights a week, and all of that has dried up and doesn't exist anymore. So everyone is to some extent DIY now, and that's why you don't see us all out there as much as
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, you have to be a huge band to really make money, and even bands that have really pretty big followings, lots of Spotify listens, like even in the millions, like to tour, it's too tough, or you just can't make any money, or bands break up or go on hiatus because you have to live, and you have to do other things. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it's tough. So it's worth it, but it's a look. I'm obviously not doing music full time, right? I have a job that enables me to be able to do some music, right? I mean, but people that are relying on it for their income, I mean, they have all my respect. I don't care whether it's like a bubblegum pop person or a garage band. I mean, to go out there and do it, it's one of the hardest things to do because of how expensive it is to have like original music, to have try and get booked. I mean, all of it. It is so difficult. So, I'm glad that there are people still willing to roll the dice because we need that um, to keep this music thing going. I mean, the good news on my front, for what it's worth, is I might not be someone's like working class hero by any stretch, but I can tell you that no record company told me what to do on the record.
Yeah.
So at least you're getting some pure music. You know what I mean? Which is a benefit. But as you said, labels still have the ability to help artists, go to that next level. But now that tour support thing isn't really a thing anymore, and but
Yeah.
it's a very interesting business right now. I feel like there's just like a huge delta between like there's those artists that are huge and doing well, and then there's sort of like everybody else. This
Right.
sort of middle class of bands and artists. It's tough.
Yeah. But that's also reflective of our broader society, right? Um, you know,
I'll stay out of that one, but I think
yeah,
it's probably
yeah.
true.
But I mean,
Yeah.
well, we don't have to talk about the root causes of that, but I think
Yeah.
it's
Right.
pretty evident that it is what's happening in society. What do you do for a day job? Do you something you're okay to talk about?
Yeah, so I am a partner at a law firm called Covington and Burling, uh, based in New York. Or I'm based in New York. The firm is, got offices around some offices around the country, around the world, and I co-chair the entertainment practice um, and do a lot of technology work as well, like technology agreements and entertainment related agreements. So I get to do work in this sort of entertainment space as
Right.
part of my job as well, which is cool.
And, and at least you don't have to hire an attorney to review your own contract
Yeah,
and such.
I can keep an eye on things. Yeah, it's helpful, a helpful skill. It's the reason why I went to law school, was seeing kind of the stuff that my dad went through with his sort of business dealings and frustrations with you know various business people not getting into his affairs, but just I felt like my grandfather also had issues. My dad, other musicians in my family, so like we really need a lawyer on the inside, like
Yeah.
of this family.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you done work for other family members?
yeah, yeah. So I bring them on, as clients of the firm and everything. It's been really cool actually to get to kind of make good on that sort of promise. I mean, I was a little kid. I just remember thinking like, we got to have someone on the inside, and now to be in a position to actually help folks is really gratifying. So I'm grateful for
Yeah,
that.
that's awesome. I love the way you said that, that we need a lawyer on the inside.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
look. I mean, one of the for better or worse, I kind of grew up fast. I saw a lot while I was a little kid, and one of the things was, you didn't have to be a genius to see like something is not right here, where like the musicians aren't really getting treated well, money's getting taken away or not coming through. The people writing the music and performing the music are like the ones that are broke, and all the business people are off with their boats doing whatever. It's like it didn't sit right. It was like, this is bad. What's going on? That was my impression, as a kid.
Well,
Um, so it informed my desire to also become educated on that side of the business.
yeah. So, I've written two books on the Allman Brothers, and I'm,
Hmm.
very familiar with their history. And something that they share in common with Aerosmith, I think, is that both of them, if they hadn't had their second lives or third or fourth life, depending how you look at it, but their late career, really nice run, which was significantly bigger for Aerosmith, but same principle. They all would have been more or less destitute. uh,
Yeah,
before that happened, none of them were in good financial shape. Is the point? And
that's
they were both lucky, and I mean it's obviously more than luck, but they were lucky that they had another bite of the apple and were able to take care
yeah,
of business on that end, at least better.
yeah. It is incredible, and I'm a huge Allman fan. My first professional rock gig was with Greg Allman and uh, Butch Trucks and Derek Trucks and a guitarist named Josh Smith at the NAMM show in 1995. I was 14 years old.
Wow.
Too
Yeah, I know
young
Josh also.
to realize how amazing that was to get involved in that. But it was a real, I mean, it's a cherished memory that I got to share a stage with Greg Allman
Yeah. Well,
and
you were
Derek,
probably
who
more or
was
less in the
amazing
same.
then.
You're in the same age range as Derek and Josh, I think, right? So you were all.
So what it was like this old and young guns of the blues thing that Washburn Guitars was putting on. So they had Greg and Butch and I think there's maybe some other folks that were
Somebody had
around
to
for
be
that gig,
playing
and then they
bass.
had yeah, like Warren I think played as well, or might not have been the same songs, but anyway, it's like the real deal folks, and then they had like the kids, the youngsters, and then that was me, Josh, and Derek, and Josh is an incredible player, and Derek I remember as well, just super nice and like incredible slide even then, and I was just playing bass trying to just hang on, But it was a lot of fun,
Yeah,
cherished memory.
that's amazing. Yeah, some of my Allman Brothers friends started telling me about Derek when he was like 10 and telling
Yeah,
me about how
he was a
great he was.
prodigy.
Yeah, and I was like, oh God, I don't want to listen to Butch Trucks and that 10-year-old nephew. That's insane. And then when I finally did, I was, of course, suitably impressed and kicking myself that I had been hesitant at all. It's as a concept, it sounded cheesy, but but it wasn't at all. He was amazing. And Joe Bonamassa was also coming up around that same time, and it's
A great
amazing.
player. Yeah,
Yeah, all of you guys are still out there doing it in different ways. So
yeah,
I don't think that's always the case with the 14-year-old prodigies.
yeah. I mean, I just love music. I wanted to find a way to keep it in my life without giving up on the other work I'd done on the academic side, and the other career, the ambitions I had. So I've just tried to find a way over the years to fit them both together, and maybe have them work a bit together. And that's kind of, I don't know, that's been what I've tried to do. So
Yeah, that's right. Well, you seem to be abnormally well grounded. So,
I'll take it.
congratulations. That's the real victory in life, right?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to enjoy my. I mean, it sounds cliche or cheesy, but I'm just like literally just trying to enjoy my life, make the most of the opportunities I've been given, And like I just love music, and I love that it's a part of my family. My kids all play. My oldest daughter's like seriously good. She plays 9 instruments already. Like she plays clarinet like my grandfather did. She plays guitar. She plays bass. She plays cello. She plays violin, and she's like legitimately like good on all of them. Like when she sounds good.
She must
Like
have just an amazing ear if she can,
yeah,
so she can
it's
find the notes on whatever instrument she picks up.
yeah, that's literally it. I mean, she's teaching herself a lot of these, piano, voice. I mean, and so the most fun for me, honestly, is like getting to play with her, and then my son also is playing drums. And even my youngest daughter is like she's more into dance and singing, but like going to concerts with them, playing music with them, the older two that are playing instruments. I mean, that is like the joy of my life. You know what I mean? And that is the most fun to share it, or to have some moments where it's like my dad, me, my brother, my kids, playing together. Those are the things that like that's the most cool thing, is to have that common bond. And so that's I'm that's kind of just where I'm at. Like I just the joy of music. It's that simple, cheesy. I don't care. That's what it is. I just put out this record because I wanted my kids, in part, to see that like I write and record songs. Because when my other band, they were really just showing up on Earth, so they didn't really get to see me recording and playing my own stuff, so that was a motivator as well to kind of like kick off the rust and like let's do a record where it's really my vision and like let's take what I've learned and see if I can put something together that's good. So that was another big kind of thing that was driving forming this new project.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, again, the band is El Cortina. Adrian Perry is the uh, mastermind behind it. I was trying to think of the right word to sum it up.
I'll
Um,
take it.
it's a wonderful record. I think anyone watching this will enjoy it. Available on all your popular streaming services. YouTube, I'm sure, you can find it. Um, and I urge you to check it out. Adrian, thank you very much for your time. It's really been a pleasure to get to talk, and I look forward to seeing you at a show.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.